Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here tonight. I just got to meet Grace before this, and I'm very excited. I'm Tomas Mier. I'm a reporter at Rolling Stone, and a new Grace VanderWaal stan, because I know this music that's coming up is going to be amazing, and we're in for a treat. So without further ado, Grace.
Hi, Grace.
Hi. This is scary.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm nervy.
Why? We're just chatting.
Yeah, just alone in our living room.
Before this, you took a second to journal, and I thought that was really cool to like take a moment to do something like that. Was that something that you do a lot? Like, what's life like right now?
You know what? I wish that that's what I was doing. Yeah, no.
Oh, you didn't?
I
Okay.
was writing down talking points.
I heard you were like, I need to get into my journal, and I was like, oh,
Well,
period.
sort of. I wanted to, there are, some, more serious songs. I also think I told you I've been like really trying to unlearn parts of myself that were very like trained up to perform. And so I feel like, yeah, a lot of people expect me to be like, really like, oh my God, I did it, da, da, da. And then I end up like not being able to like reveal myself in the way that I want. And so like I'm actively trying to like, and some of the songs that I'm singing, I feel like really deserve that. So I was like, let me get into, what I want to say so I don't get in front of everyone and blank like I often do.
The idea of unlearning, I think, is something that is a lot harder than having to learn, because something might be so ingrained in you, right? What's that been like? Is that a new thing?
Oh my God, yeah. Because I feel like with my career and like, sort of growing up as a kid in the limelight, you do a lot of like subliminal learning. So there were a lot of things that I never even knew were instilled in me until it started giving me blockages in adulthood. And I was like, oh, that's a problem. And I didn't even know, how I learned that. And so like, I feel like then the first step you need to do is like locate why you emotionally feel the need to do that before you can start taking steps of not doing that. So like, even for example, I felt like the way that I was always like so performative to people, which I still often do. I actually just said this like in like a meeting recently because I am oversharer. This is not appropriate. I was like going into like a psychoanalysis. But when you like grow up in like a really chaotic home where no one is heard, you end up becoming a person that feels like they need to get in their word. So like I feel like as an adult, I'm like, I hate that I talk so fast or so loud. And I feel like it's because I was such an unheard kid that now, and that's, so then I was like, okay, that's what that is. Now I've located it. Let me try to like take steps back from that. Guys, stop, don't notice that.
Is that through therapy? Is that through your own work? Like, how does that?
I don't know. I've had a weird relationship with therapy, to be honest. I don't know, just survival, I guess, and I just, it just gets so bad where you're just like, I feel like I have no other choice but to work on this, And also for the album, and honestly, my next album has emotionally helped me so much. And like, I might have not even had that thought today if I didn't care for the song so much, because I knew that they deserved a well thought out, calm, non-performative like introduction and stories. And I just feel like I respect that project so much that it's allowed me in return to start like respecting myself in a way.
I love the idea of having to kind of remind yourself, like, I'm going to be myself, I'm going to accept who I am.
Yeah.
And doing that on a body of work like the one you've been working on, I think, must be cathartic in a way, or what's that process been like?
Oh my God, I remember it was so painful to make. And I feel like, so when you ask about therapy, like people would often ask me why I'm in therapy, or why I'm not in therapy. They'd be like, you need therapy. But I felt so intimidated by what I felt like I had cemented down for so many years that I almost felt like I'm better off leaving it untouched. And so then for the next album, I was like, yeah, but that's something really special. And like the fact that I'm afraid to touch it, make almost as like performance art in itself, to like just like crack it open and almost sacrifice myself for that artistic value. But then I found that it was actually like really healing to me now in retrospect. It was really painful while writing it, but I feel like really like empowered and like good.
Having this conversation is reminding me of this interview I watched that you did a few weeks ago about how you didn't see like what you went through before as experiencing success at a young age, but more of having that facade of fame shattered at a young age. And I thought that was beautiful because that's your own experience with that feeling, right? And the fact that now you can do all that you're doing without having to deal with that must be helpful, right?
Oh my God, yeah. And I really feel like the stars aligned with this album. So much like weirdness happened. I don't know like what I believe in, but like I know some weird shit was going on with that. It was just too many things that were just so perfect. And I kind of like in a way had lost everything because I let go of everyone I knew. And even in my personal life, I had a best friend that was like basically my sister. I let go of her. I was like very like a death of so many things. But then what came out of it was I felt like I had nothing to lose. And so I really just like felt like I started writing completely for myself, not to present to Columbia, not to get an audio, I was just like, this is something that I want to do. And actually then for Pulse Records, shout out to them for signing me because no one should have, I think that I said to them, I was like, I don't care if this does well, which is like probably something you don't want to hear like an artist say. Yeah.
What you said was, it's gonna scare a lot of grown men.
Yeah.
Do we stand by that?
Yes.
Good.
We'll go into that later. I think there's a pain and vulnerability that people are really terrified of because it makes things really real. And also people tend to take immediate responsibility for it. And like also that's like why. I feel like people who immediately get offended by something and feel the need to take responsibility, I feel like you're projecting something and it's like, why did you immediately take responsibility for this like female pain or anything that I'm trying to describe right now? Anyway, I do think that there will be a lot of people like that. Yeah. Sorry.
Wait, can you elaborate more? Is there a specific song?
This is why I wanted to do the show before the Q&A.
This will be a cool precursor, so when we hear those songs, we'll be able to understand what you're talking about.
I don't know. I'm not really sure how to like elaborate further than that. I think that there's just like a lot of a big part of the album is my experience becoming a young woman from a girl, and the absolute exaggerated experience that I had through that process while being in the limelight, because I was able to see thousands and thousands of thoughts and voices seconds at a time, which gives you a really disturbing look into mankind. And it was incredibly painful to be that observer. And so yeah, a lot of the songs are really about that and sort of that grief and, you know, that death of sorts.
So would you say that this upcoming album is like a rebirth for you?
It's a death.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
album's a death.
It's like so gruesome. Yeah, I think it's my way. Also, I've never been like sure how to cope with anything, and also I think that it was a large like identity loss for me. I just felt this wave of I had this sensationalization as a little girl. I think that I was given like sort of the crown of purity, like unconsensually. And so then just to have from there, and that's all I based my identity off of, because I'm just a little girl and that feels like positive reinforcement to me. So I'm like, yes, that's what I'm worth, okay. that's what people like about me. So to have that then ripped and just feel this wave of just hatred, and I'm now a free-for-all for like cleansing. It's like people purge their hatred on women, and it's because you're no longer a person, now you're a woman. You know what I'm saying? And I felt that stolen from me. I was like, oh, now I'm a woman. Now I'm sexual. Now I'm wrong, and now I'm things that people don't like. And it's, yeah. So I'm kind of losing myself. I think I'm getting lost in my own thoughts. But
No, I mean, wow. I think you just saying that, and in like the context of which this interview is happening in the world, thinking about that,
yeah.
it's very real.
It was a coincidence, but yeah, it happened.
So you described the album as a death. How do we get to dying? How do we make an album about that experience?
It like slowly, I felt like started revealing itself to me. I remember the night when like it all clicked and I just heard the voices from above and I was like, yes, this is what it is. Like the title, everything came, and I was just like, and then from there on it was easier to write the songs because I all of a sudden like knew the world that I wanted to do. And from then on, like I came up with like this interpretive dance of like the last song. The last song has like these strings outro, and I was like telling Pulse, I was like, I want us all to be interpretive dancing like midsummer, like breathing together. And then at the very end, I'm gonna be laid to rest. I'm gonna be slowly picked up. And also I had this idea of like ooh, I almost said something I shouldn't say. The set really distracted me from what I was, the death thing. It slowly became that way, and then it started making a lot of sense because we started having all of these like this imagery of like Victorian deaths and angels and a lot of like religious symbolism, especially because of like the purity thing. And I've kind of realized that like I think that I said on a call a few days ago, and like we all were like, and I was like, this is the last time I think I'll ever talk about it. And like it's almost like putting that child in me finally to rest that has been so like disturbed and not been given the peace that she deserves for so long. And yeah, it's kind of like that, cathartic send off. Yeah.
That's really powerful.
I know, I even like was like, oh my God, what am I saying? Make me emotional.
Yeah, why am I getting emotional right now? Because I think I've seen so many interviews where you've been like, I have to like gentle parent people who meet me and are like, oh, you're like a woman now, and like you're not that little girl. And I think having that visually and in your art is going to be beautiful to be able to see. Have you been able to put that little girl to rest?
Like I said, like writing the album, I was like, man, I'm really doing this because I felt like it was, again, really hard for me because these were, I discover things about myself from writing. I'm really detached from myself. So I'll write things and I'll be like, fuck, I did not know that I felt that way. Like that's happening. But now we're putting everything together, and yeah, it's really granted me, I think a lot. Girl, you're taking away my speech that I was gonna say over my song. You keep asking.
You can hear it again. It's fine.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot. I felt very like stolen. I just kept hearing that word for many, many years, and the album really gifted me something, and it gifted me the power of my truth and my story, and it gave me something back from the world that I kind of felt so defeated. I kept feeling like I was giving and giving and getting, taking and taking, and so it gave me that in return, and it was kind of like getting a piece of my power back in a way, and just being like, I have this is mine. Like no one can ever, touch this, like, but just my truth and my story, and like that helps me sleep at night. So it did help me in a way, I guess. Yeah.
I like that. I think, and the fact that we're going to be able to get it soon as your fans and as an audience, I'm sure a lot of people that are here have really like maybe connected to your story and what you've been through and also your music. And so thank you for being vulnerable, right? Do I speak for y'all too? Yeah, a lot of my questions were about making this album and what inspired it, and I think you touch upon it like in such a deep way that I think I'm very excited to be able to hear the songs from it. Was there specific people that you worked with on this music, or was it on your own?
There is a fine man that was actually supposed to be here today, Aaron Kanata, and he was one of the earliest people that like understood sort of where I was getting at, because I started getting really inspired by like really just cutting honesty, like things that you would never even admit. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's just such a sense of peeking in the blind. There's such a sense of exposing yourself in that way that, and I'm not saying, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fucking, you wouldn't even say out loud. You know what I'm saying? And so when I started tapping into that, I was like, that's what I like. Like, when we do that, that's when I feel like this is something powerful. And Aaron Kanata was one of the first people who was like, yes, and then you're gonna die and we'll have your arms ripped off. And then violins will come in. And I was just like, you get me. And then we ended up working on, I'm pretty sure we did every important song of the album we did together. Yeah.
How long did it take to make?
Girl, so quick. So, yeah, I just separated from a label. I think I can say that. So I, again, had nothing. And it actually all started with What's Left of Me. I wrote What's Left of Me completely labelless. I had just hired my new manager. And I was just starting to get into like this more like grotesque, like I was really fascinated by that. So like some of the words we were writing were like, you know, the grease in my hair and like the rotting my teeth. And I imagine like taking pliers just to try to like move on from someone. Sorry, people. Sorry, but this was the creative process. And so I was just starting to get, and I felt like that was the first time, like usually I like brew on something for a long time before it starts actually making its way to getting results on the paper. And so What's Left of Me was the first time where I was like, yes, I'm doing it. And then I called my manager and I was like, okay, I think I'm writing the best I ever have. I want to write an album. Make it happen. And then we did. I think it probably took 8 months to write the album, which is good, by the way, for people who don't know. That's like cray. So yeah, it because, and also I love that because it kept the inspiration going and it really didn't let it go stale. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, you started from fresh. I saw an interview that said you lost everything you made even if it hadn't been released.
Yeah, I don't think I'm supposed to say that.
Well, you said it in a previous interview, so very good. Well, we won't tell anyone. Y'all keep it to yourself. But I feel that I think being able to start fresh, it gave you that mindset where you're gonna go into making a project on your own. Like,
dude, it helped me so much because a lot of those. Oh, fuck, I don't know. I'm scared.
Just say stuff.
A lot of those things, like it honestly, dude, like it didn't even have a direction, and like I just felt this like very, very strong gut voice of just like, you need to sever everything, and like, and I'm so happy because I just feel like I've like reached a potential that like I just always knew I always wanted to do, and I just felt like I didn't have the right like system and like motivation and, you know, support around me, you know?
And now you have that?
And now I have that, yes.
I love it. See, I think that's what it's all about, being
Yeah.
able to find that space. And yes, clap. I also saw that you're excited about the performance element of these songs and that you are very meticulous with the performance side of it in touring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear about how you've explained it. I feel like I have so many visuals of
Yeah.
this music.
Because I want it to feel like a performance art piece. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted that to bleed into the shows. Yeah. Like, I wanted it to feel like, so, like, even in the beginning, it helped me a lot because I imagined it like an exhibit. Like, that's how I would, like, do the visuals. I would, like, imagine that I walked in and each song of the album is the exhibit. It's more like a piece like that. Like, it's an exhibit that you can walk through. And I really want to reference something, but I feel like I'm going to sound dumb because I can't remember the name of it, so I'll do it anyway. There is, like, a performance art piece, I think it was, like, in France, and she lays out, like, a feather. She says, "You can do anything to me." And she lays out, like, a feather, you know, whatever, Sharpie, and then, like, a safety pin, a knife, and scissors, and stuff like that. And as the time went on, she slowly got mutilated. I don't know. The rawness, whatever that has, I wanted that exposing of just like, do I sound crazy? Yeah, I don't know. So then the like live aspect and everything, I wanted like, I can't give everything away, but I had this idea that I wanted like everything to be as if it were an exhibit in one, and then I was like, and then let's reenact that for live shows and as it goes on. You know what I'm saying? So like what you see, it's like a circus, like you can always come and see the show. You know? Yeah.
I like this idea of what you're saying of exposure and the juxtaposition of that with like your childhood and all of that. Like I think it's now in your hands, which
exactly
is different.
And I feel like the power taken back is like there was so much hiding during that time, and like it just honestly it feels most liberating to just admit that it was fucked up and hard. And I just feel like for so long it was so like, because then my brother and sister were struggling and everyone was struggling around me, and I just felt like I had this level of whatever I defined as gratitude that I needed to uphold. And so I really abandoned myself in that time. And that's probably why now I say I'm so detached and I need to write music. Honestly, that's probably why a little girl started writing like music. You know what I'm saying? Because I emotionally had to detach myself to survive during that time, because people would ask me, they'd be like, and you know, your family is doing so great and you're so, and I would literally just have to like disassociate and just be like, yes, oh my God, and they're so amazing and I love it. And it was like, God, it just feels good after all these years to just be like, no, fuck, it was fucking hard. And this is the story. You know what I'm saying? Like that, the admission of that is what feels most cleansing.
Yeah, like relief.
Yeah, it's just fucking relief. Yeah.
Wow, and honest. And
in
like
honesty,
truth,
yes.
you know, that's so important.
And maybe that is why, now you're even like getting me thinking, but like maybe that is why I was so drawn to those like exposure things, because it's almost just in the most extremified sense, visually, the symbolism of what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Allowing people to see this very, very, very raw wound that was hidden for so long, you know?
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry, everyone's here like, man, I thought she was gonna be funny and happy. Sorry. Little dark.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's part of it. Like, you are funny. You're very funny, but you're
Well,
also
thank you.
real. And I think a lot of people have to cope with situations that might be very different from yours, but might bring out a lot of those similar emotions. My brain automatically goes to, have you spoken to like other people exposed to situations like yours as well?
Well, I grew up with a brother and sister, and it's funny because we were kind of all in our own isolated way feeling the exact same, like, golden child syndrome of just like really feeling like we need to upkeep whatever, facade, I guess, felt appropriate to us. And so, yeah, me and my Olivia, oh my God, me and my sister, we can and do often, for literally years, we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. But also, yeah, I think just golden child syndrome, it's literally the exact same thing of just like feeling this responsibility to parent and like hold it down and be whatever you define as good, whatever this goodness is. It's like this unobtainable good that you're just always chasing. I'm good and I have to be good because, for whatever personal reason, you have.
And you've had your siblings to work through that.
Oh yeah, I was just talking to actually a makeup artist about this because I was like, my sister was the thing. She's like, oh, yeah, your sister. And I was just like, yeah, I can't imagine, it would be a different story if I didn't have her. Let's just say that. I cannot imagine how it would go down, without her. And, she, to me.
I love that. I think that's so important. I'm glad that you have that support.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the sounds on the album and like what inspired it sonically. Like, were there things that you were listening to a lot that were like, oh, I really like that, or how did that go?
No, not really. I really was focused on the writing in the early stages. Imagery, poetry. Again, I wanted it to feel performance arty. And then the sounds sort of just slowly evolved. That's probably a lot of Aaron. But the biggest thing is I really just wanted the words to shine. And also I'm always sitting there and we make it together. So I'll be like I'll literally be like, on this word it should feel like bubbles are popping, like boop, 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 boop. And then that's the teamwork, and then he'll somehow pull up the exact sound I made, and he's like, oh, like this? And just pull up the exact sample, and it's just like, that's basically the relationship there. So I guess it's just my mind. The sound is my mind.
That's cool. Did you ever think of, did you approach writing as like poetry, or did you always know that those things you're writing were going to be songs? How did that go?
I was writing a lot of poetry. Once again, I feel like it has to brew for a while. Some songs I thought about more, some songs I thought about less. There are some playful songs on there. Yeah, so some songs I did spend a lot of time writing about. But yeah, I had been writing, now that I'm thinking about it, I had been writing poetry about almost all the subjects for many, many months prior that we would often, revert back to.
That's really cool. I like the idea of it starting as poetry and building into these songs, and sonically working with your producer to do that.
Yeah.
What were you listening to while making the music? Was it just what you were making?
I mean, in the early stages, I think this is still written and we need to stop writing it. I was listening to Melodrama. Also, I just think that's a masterpiece album. And I guess there is some of that. There's a fusion of really big, swirling, panning electronic sounds. Again, I didn't want a lot of super drum moments because I felt like that added a layer of armor to the song for some reason. It just took away the nakedness that I was describing for some reason. So then to work around that, because people were like, well, it still needs rhythm. There's a lot of things keep it up, random piano sounds and things to keep it moving. So did I answer the question? Oh, you said who was I listening to?
I like that answer.
I don't know. I didn't really listen to anyone and think I want it to be this.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know what? Maybe. Frank Ocean inspired me heavily, like chromatically. I don't know if I'm inclined to say that word. Don't ask me to define it. Like the notes that he chose, I liked because it's refreshing to my ears. I feel like I don't want to pause a song. I can finish a song without ever I can pretend to know any song, which is great for some songs depending on what you're trying to achieve. But yeah, Frank Ocean, I felt like there was sort of like a cry and wailing to his songs because he allowed his voice to flow and go here so that you could hear the dynamics of his emotion. And so I guess that was a big inspiration.
I love that. I
Yeah.
think if we're going to speak about somebody who's very raw as well, he's
exactly.
on that list for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the visual of that performance art that you mentioned, I've heard of that as well, of that moment. So to see that reflected in your music.
Yeah, very cathedral.
Yeah.
Like a sacrifice.
I see. Wait, I want to ask you, you said before this you were writing down talking points. Is there stuff in your head that you're like, I want to get to this? Just so you don't forget.
Oh no, honey, I'm shit out of luck about that.
You're
I gave up on that like 10 minutes ago. I'm pretty sure you stole all my talking points.
I'm so sorry.
You know.
I did not, disclaimer, I did not look at this journal. I just saw her ask for
the
it.
song is gonna come up and I'm gonna be like, you guys already know.
Okay, good. Cool, then maybe I'm doing my job right.
You're doing a really good job.
Thank you. What about now? What are you listening to now?
I listen to a lot of Fiona Apple. I hate this question because I feel like I have such good taste, but then like I blank anytime anyone asks me this. I love Aretha Franklin. She's my favorite artist pretty much of all time. I don't know. Oh, Big Thief. I broke down a lot of her writing. Yes, her writing inspired my writing a lot. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Is there something about this album that you haven't shared with us yet that you think is important to share?
I have shared too much.
Got it. Okay. And I always like to ask, this album, I don't know what we'll expect it, but for 2025, we're very close to this new year. Is there something that you're manifesting for yourself and for your music in the new year?
Oh yeah, I feel like I've been really growing as a person. I feel like the biggest thing is like just being a person for me. I just feel like so much of my just complete identity has just circulated around performance, which is very lonely in your personal life. Gets really, really lonely. And so I am really trying to unlearn all of those traits that I feel like were very instilled in me. And also like knowing, all the good stuff. Knowing my power and what I deserve and willing to fight for myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. You took your power back.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to do a little moment and we're going to have an amazing performance, but thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you. Love you. Okay.